Hello, and welcome to Disambiguation, a podcast about removing some of the confusion and helping you understand more about AI and business automation. Now, once a week, we'll bring interesting guests on to talk about all sorts of different topics around artificial intelligence and the adoption of artificial intelligence and how different companies are building products to help solutions and also some of the application of that technology in business itself. And the purpose really is to try to cut through some of the noise that we're hearing. I mean, certainly over the last year, at least since last fall, there's been a great deal of interest in AI business, particularly generative AI, and of course, anytime you see that much activity and that much excitement, there's also a certain amount of dark side or downside, or even just noise and understanding that needs to help you figure out how you're going to actually use these technologies in your business, and make some difference there. Now, I just conducted a survey of on AI adoption, and I was just going through the data. And one of the things that I think is really interesting is to look at how companies are using this technology today. And the survey was North America only. It was about 402 respondents, and the number one use case, at 65%, which is a pretty strong one, is chatbots. So intelligent chatbots are certainly popping up in a lot of different places, replacing your more traditional chatbot. 64% said cybersecurity was their solution, or they were using AI for cybersecurity. 53% using AI for virtual assistant. 47% enhanced data analytics, and 44% anti-fraud or financial fraud prevention. So you can see pretty strong adoption and use already. And of course, that's just growing. And in that same survey, 87% of the respondents said that they would increase their spending on AI over the next 12 months. So there's definitely a need to understand, and hopefully, like I said, we'll be able to get some interesting guests in here. We already have several things lined up. We're going to be, in upcoming episodes, we're going to be talking about AI and security. We're going to be talking about privacy issues around AI, AI for marketing, prompt engineering. You just can't go in and use these GPT engines without understanding how to write a prompt to get exactly what you want out of it. Much like you had to learn how to search on Google when, you started using that to get the results that you actually wanted. Sales and automation, intelligent chatbots I mentioned already, and we'll dive into that a good bit. Data preparation, data quality, and also data sources, which is certainly a hot topic of not just your internal data, but how do you augment that data? Using AI for cybersecurity is one of the hottest use cases, and of course, that really is a response to the fact that AI on the opposite side, on the hacker side or the darker side, is also, getting a lot of adoption and use case there. And it certainly makes the threat exposure much greater for businesses. The best way to respond is to fight fire with fire, as they say. Generative AI use cases, we're all talking about GPT engines and integrations and open integrations and open and closed large language models. So we'll be talking about a lot of that as well. And when we talk about artificial intelligence or AI, we're really talking about the simulation of human intelligent processes by machines, computers. These processes are things like learning, the acquisition of information and rules for using that information, reasoning, using the rules to reach approximate or definite conclusions, and self-correction. Now, they divide AI into three categories: narrow AI, or sometimes called weak AI, general AI, and artificial superintelligence. Now, what we're talking about today is in the category of narrow AI, and we haven't yet been able to build a general AI system, and then certainly not as an artificial super intelligence, which would be even more capable of than human. So general AI or strong AI exhibits all of the capabilities of being human. So implies that it can perform intellectual tasks that being humans can understand, learn, adapt, implement knowledge, etc. So, like I said, it's an exciting one, but it's definitely not out there yet. And if so what we're talking about is narrow AI, and that's all the conversation today is around that, and for the near future anyway. It's hard to predict, but certainly there are plenty of people working on the move to general AI. So, we talk about AI, and I know a lot of people think that this is a fairly new development, but the truth is, if you look at the history of AI, and I'm not going to take you through the whole history, although maybe we'll do a show on that at some point. But the field of AI really, emerged in the 1950s and 60s, which surprises a lot of people, and it's very closely tied to things that we would have called analytics, for example, and Alan Turing proposed this Turing test in 1950 to determine a machine's ability to exhibit intelligent behavior that's indistinguishable from that of a human, and that's really sort of how this that's sort of how we started moving forward with these. So 70s and 80s, there were expert systems, knowledge engineering techniques to solve complex problems. um, Stanford became the first AI controlled autonomous vehicle in 73. So some movement there. 1990s and the 2000s, machine learning became the hot topic. In 97, IBM's Deep Blue defeated world chess champion Gary Kasparov, which really was the first time the public saw the showcase of this potential of AI in strategic decision making kind of task. And then natural language processing, which starts to help computers to understand and generate human language effectively and efficiently. In the 2010s, some developments there. We had IBM Watson on Jeopardy, for example, and one Jeopardy, showcasing the power there. Um, and the virtual assistants that we all started to use on a daily basis: Siri, Google Assistant, Amazon's Alexa. All of those are AI powered conversational agents that we started to use and be comfortable with. And really much more commonly used, and particularly things that are built into your phone or some of the other smart home, your thermostat, etc. Some of those things connect into those virtual assistants as well. So where we're going, I mean, that's a tough one, because certainly there's a lot of activity, there's a lot of experimentation, there's a lot of capabilities that are growing very quickly. And with all technology, it tends we tend to predict the future based on the rate of change that we have today. And the truth is, technology almost always advances exponentially, and this is certainly the case with the AI technologies. And so I suspect that you're going to see many leaps forward over the next few years. It's going to be a really exciting time, and that's one of the reasons that we really wanted to launch this, is so we could really be inside of all the exciting things that are happening around these advances and rapid advances, and all the kind of ongoing research in areas like reinforcement learning, generative models, explainable AI, robotics. We're using it now in semi-autonomous vehicles, certainly trying to move towards autonomous vehicles, smart homes, healthcare, diagnostics. So many business applications there. And then certainly we also want to take a look at some of the ethical considerations of AI, including things like issues of privacy, bias, job displacement, which I know is something that is a lot of buzz around that lately, with the idea that perhaps the automation could eliminate certain job categories, which I think when we publish the report from the survey, you could take a look at that. You'll see that there is a certain amount of displacement that's going to happen, because you're going to automate over time certain mundane tasks out of the way. But that doesn't mean that you're eliminating jobs overall, because there's certainly new skills that are desperately needed to implement and operate and continue to use these types of tools. And that actually was the number one concern in the survey from the respondents was this idea that it's very difficult to find the qualified talent that you need. So there's going to be a big push to educate more people, get them involved in AI research, AI application, use of AI. All of those things are definitely, going to you'll see happening over the next few years. And then, of course, this general intelligence, the AGI, artificial general intelligence we were talking about, is this idea of human level intelligence, which still an aspiration at this point, but certainly will be moving along. And today for business use cases, you can think about really sort of two basic ideas. One is um, automation. So, what are the tasks and things, operational things that I do in my business that I could automate? And right now, I think we think of that more as we call mundane task or a routine task, whatever word you want to use. But those are things that are that are capable of automation, and that line over time is going to move up as more and more capabilities come out, more and more things that could be automated, so you can free employees up, humans up, to actually focus on much higher value kinds of activities. And then the other kind, and I mentioned assistance before, is the idea of using AI technologies as an assistant. Sometimes you'll hear people refer to enhanced data analytics, for example. The idea of having large data sets and having AI be able to parse through machine learning models, generative models, all those different types of technologies, parse through all this data, and then narrow down your choices to help you make better decisions, whether it's a business decision, healthcare decisions, whatever. In fact, that's one of the easiest use cases, I think, to understand when we talk about assistance is a doctor doing a diagnosis. Now, you certainly, we're not at a point where we want the AI to do the diagnosis, but you could feed that AI all of the symptoms. And of course, it trained on data from all over the world about different types of diseases and symptoms and that sort of thing. And it could pretty, reliably give the doctor a few choices or places to look to try to make the diagnosis, and really assist that doctor in consuming a mass data set that there's no way that a human would be able to work through in a reasonable amount of time and actually provide that diagnosis. So that's the kind of thing that I think we're going to see more and more of: assistance and automation. And like I said, going forward, we'll take a look at some of those topics. We have some really exciting topics coming up. One of the first shows will be about AI and marketing, which is one of the areas we're seeing a lot of activity. We're going to look at customer experience in the context of AI, a few different ways to look at that. I have a few different guests around the idea of cybersecurity and AI. We're going to take a deep dive into several of those things. I did a show on my other show, In the Hot Seat, not that long ago, on generative AI in higher ed, and we're going to bring one of the guests from that show onto this show and have a good conversation about what she's seeing in the application of Gen AI in a higher ed environment. We've got some, we're going to look at some Salesforce activities at AI during Dreamforce. So have a few there. Virtual assistants, low code, no code platforms that are using AI. We're going to take a look at that. And then, of course, in the back end, the data quality, data sources, all those things. So I'm really excited to get this going. I don't want to ramble on too much today. What I wanted to do really was focus around just helping you understand kind of what we're going to do and where we're going to go forward with this. So look for the shows once a week in all your standard places. If you'd like to see the videos, we will be doing videos for most of the shows, not necessarily all of them, but for most of the shows, we'll do the videos, and we'll be doing, on those shows. For some of the on-site type shows, like I said, mentioned at Dreamforce, I'm going to try to record a couple of shows there. On some of those, event-driven ones, it could very well be audio only, but and those will be in your usual suspects, Apple and Google, all the standard distribution, Spotify, etc. So with that, I'm going to sign off today. Like I said, look for this once a week. This is purely an introduction to the show, of course, but hopefully, you'll get excited about this and see how much is possible. I do think there's a huge opportunity for businesses to use AI across a broad set of use cases. And so, over the next few weeks and months, we'll take a look at some of those. So thank you very much for listening to this episode 0, this first episode. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again on the next episode where, we'll have some interesting topics to talk about AI. Thanks for joining me.